Welcome back to JDC 24/7, the digital class in Tanzania. My dear Standard 3 pupils, today in Science and Technology, we will have a discussion on first aid. By the way, let us define what is this first aid. What is first aid? Now, first aid is the immediate help given to a victim before sending him or her to the hospital for further treatment. Again, first aid is the immediate help given to a victim before sending him or her to the hospital for further treatment. Importance of first aid. Now, there are different importance of having or giving first aid to a victim before seeing the doctor. And the following are some of the importance of having or doing what we call first aid. First of all is that it reduces pain. If you give someone first aid, it will reduce pain to that individual. Right? And again, also, it saves life. Now, assume somebody got accident, for example, by helping or giving him the first help or first aid, he or she is likely to get alive or not to die, by the way. So, the very important thing with first aid is to save life. Is it right? Okay, so the other thing is that it gives hope to a victim. It gives hope to a victim. To mean, if someone got injury, for example, or is poisoned, whatever it can be, after giving him or her first aid, he or she is likely to get a relief and hope that maybe there is life after his accident. Right? And let us come to the other what we call importance. The fourth importance is it reduces the loss of blood. This is to be taken into account, my dear and near friends. It reduces the loss of blood. How the loss of blood is being reduced to mean, for example, if someone is cut, then what you do is you cover him or her, or you attend him or her. Instead of maybe flowing more of the blood from him, you are likely to reduce that amount of blood that could get lost, right? That's all. And also it helps the victim to recover fast. Yes. Because immediate after the accident, immediately after the what we call event of victimizing, or the event that victimizing that victim, you will get help, and the help will not will help not to accelerate the so-called problem, or whichever we could say, of which at the end of the day an individual or a victim is going to recover very soon. Right? That's cool. And also it reduces cost. That is fantastic, because after somebody has problem, or yes, of course, injured or got sick or whatever, after being attended for the matter of what we call first aid, he or she is likely to not get that worse accident or that worse what we call problem, of which at the end of the day during treatment, he or she is going to use a little amount of money compared to if he couldn't been saved or given what we call first aid. Now, these are some of the people, or some people who are giving first aid to different individuals, as you see in these photos, right? So the help given to an individual before seeing the doctor is what we call first aid, and it is of that importance as we have discussed above. Right? Yes. Now let us come to the first aid kit. Now, before, as we have said that you have to give first aid to an individual, but how are you going to give that first aid? You must have some of the instruments, is it? Right. And what about these instruments? Where are all these instruments being kept? There must be what we call first aid kit. What is first aid kit? Now, first aid kit is the small box in which first aid tools, items are kept. So the first aid kit is the small box in which first aid tools or items are kept. So when you want to give help to an individual, you must also get prepared in terms of these what we call items, the common items which are there in order to give help to a victim. And these items are kept in what we call first aid kit. Right? Understood? Yes. Now let us come to what we call tools which are found in the first aid kit. First of all, as we have said, the first aid kit is like you see here. Now the tools which are found in the first aid kit are like bandages. You are likely to have bandages in the first aid kit, and also the painkiller like Panadols. These which are there in order to reduce pain, of course. So there are likely to have painkillers in the first aid kit, and also the soap is likely to be it is a must thing to be in the first aid kit, and there must be water in the first aid kit. There must be gloves, there must be laser blade, there must be pair of scissors, there must be cotton wool or piece of green cloth. And these are some of the very important things which are to be in the first aid kit. However, there are more things to be taken into account in order to make sure that whenever any problem arise, you are able, or you will be able to attend the victim. Right? Okay, so first aid kit, as we have said, like this one, it is the small box in which the first aid tools, or the tools for giving first aid to a victim, are kept in. As we have to bear in mind, it's like inside, as you see, there are different things of which are found, as you see, bandages or whatever, of which are in the first aid kit. As you see, these are first aid kits, right? The small box in which the first aid equipment or tools, items are kept is called what we call first aid kit. Understood? Now, the following images show the mentioned tools found in the first aid, because we have talked about these first aid tools, or tools for first aid, or the tools which are found in the first aid kit, as we have defined the first aid kit as the bandages and whichever. Now, these tools are now here, as you have to see. Now, the following images shows the what we call mentioned tools found in the first aid kit. So we have bandages, as you see here. These are bandages. We have a pair of scissors, like this one, a pair of scissors, as we have said. Panadol, like you see here, also should be there in order to reduce pains. The gloves to be put on your hands or whatever, and also a water. That is right. So there must be water in the first aid kit, and this is the soap, like detergent or whatever. The soap should be there. A laser blade, like you see here, it should be also there, and the cotton wool, as you see over here. Pupils, are you alright? Is it okay with you? Hopefully, yes. Let us continue. Now, giving first aid to a bleeding person. Let us have a look a bit about giving first aid to a bleeding person. Now, the aim of giving first aid to a person who is bleeding is to prevent further bleeding and the loss of blood, as said in the importance of first aid. Now, we have talked about one of the advantages or the importance of having first aid is to reduce the loss of what we call blood. Now here, the aim of giving first aid to a person who is bleeding is to prevent further bleeding and the loss of blood, as said in the importance of first aid, as we have said earlier. Right? Now, the following are some of the, or I can say some of the importance to the stages to help this person. I'm sorry for this. Now, one of them is one of the stage or procedure to undergo is to use clean dressing to bandage the wound. Okay, so if someone is bleeding, like if the wound is somewhere like here, a cut is here, you can take a bandage or a clean piece of dressing. You can bandage it in order to keep the wound away from exposed, but also to minimize the amount of blood that is flowing on that. And also you will bind the wound tightly with that bandage. You bind it tightly, then there you are. As you see an individual after being cut, someone has put something like you see over here, and he continues tightening in order to reduce the loss of that blood, but also to keep that place safe from insects or from other whatever harmful insects, right? Yes. That's all, because there are different things, but for the elemental stage you can do that. Okay. Yes. Now let us come to give the first aid to an electrical shocked person. Wow, this is marvelous. Someone is likely to get shocked from electricity. Even you kids, or even you QQs, sometimes you do play with electricity, and I dare to say to you that don't play or don't dare to play with electricity unless it is said otherwise. Now, if someone has had an electrical shock, switch off the electrical current at the mains to break the contact between the person and the electricity supply. In case someone is shocked with electricity, the first thing to be done with you as the first procedure to undertake in order to help him or her is to cut or to switch off the electrical current at the mains to break the contact between the person and the electrical supply before maybe calling even the doctor, right? Now, what if you cannot reach the electrical mains supply? Do the following. Okay, now use the dry log or wood to separate a person from an electricity. So in case someone is shocked with electricity but still is on the electricity, but you can't reach the main in order to separate electricity or to cut off the so-called electricity, what you do is to take the dry log, again, dry log of wood, and separate that person from the electricity. That's all. Now, once you have separated him or her from the electricity and the victim cannot breathe, dial the special number on the kit for an ambulance. So in the toolkit, or in the what we call first aid kit, there must be what we call the urgence or the call number or the dial number for urgence, so that when it happens, after giving first aid, you call for an ambulance. For the person who is now shocked with this, you call that is special number found on the kit, right? Yes. So any electrical shock should end up by seeking medical help. Kids, any electrical shock should end up by seeking medical help, unless you have assured yourself that it was a very minor shock. It was a very minor shock, unless that, otherwise. But it is recommended that any electrical shock at the end of the day, you have to end up by calling the doctor for help, right? Yes, so these are some of the pictures or the photos that shows that the person is shocked with electricity, as you see here. And here this electrician or whoever also is what is shocked with electricity, and the other person over here is shocked by a shot. Yes, so don't do or don't dare to play with electricity again, because electricity is a very dangerous thing. Don't play with it, but remember to give what we call first aid to this person. Don't touch with your bare hands, don't touch with your body, or don't use your body to separate this person unless you have switched off the electricity. Otherwise, use the right logs as we have said earlier, right? Yes, let us come to first aid or giving first aid to a person who is bitten by a snake. If someone has been bitten by a snake and you suspect it may be poisonous, help them to get emergency medical treatment. If someone has bitten by a snake and you suspect it may be poisonous, help them to get emergency medical treatment. If you know the snake wasn't poisonous, treat the area of the bite for bleeding and the other symptoms. If you are sure that the snake wasn't poisonous, treat the area of the bite for what we call bleeding and other symptoms. Now, for the matter of helping this person, especially that is bitten by a snake of which it was not poisonous, you have to use the first procedure to be taken into account is to use clean cloth and gauze to the area until the bleeding stops. So in case the snake was not poisonous, then treating, because after a bite it is likely to have what we call blood, then what you do is to apply the clean cloth or gauze until the blood end up or stop. And again, the second procedure is to clean the area with the soap and water. So you clean the area with the soap and water. And the other thing is to apply what we call an antibiotic cream. So you apply antibiotic cream in order to go against what we call biotic, of which they could maybe endanger the bitten person, right? And the fourth procedure is to cover the wound with the sterile bandage or gauze to protect it while healing. So during healing, then the so-called what we call the wound or whichever should be protected or covered by the sterile bandage or gauze, right? Things to be taken into account. For poisonous bites, the victim must see the doctor for further treatment. For poisonous bites, the victim must end up by seeing the doctor for further treatment. As you see, the bites, as you see here, the guy has been bitten by this individual, the snake bite. Oh, come on. That should not be the big deal for you to help an individual. You have to go and help. And someone is bitten somewhere here. So that is all about how to go about. Now, students, our pupils, we have gone through this topic by talking about first aid. In the first aid, we have defined what is first aid, of which we have said it is an immediate help given to a victim before sending him or her to the hospital for further treatment, right? And also we came to what we call importance of first aid. We have talked about the importance of first aid. One of them is to reduce pain. We have talked about saving life. We have talked about it to give hope to a victim, and also reduces the loss of blood, and also it helps the victim to what we call recover fast and to reduce cost whatever it should. And we have gone through what we call seeing what we call these people whom are giving first aid to different individuals and so on. And we went through what we call first aid kit, of which we have said it is the small box in which first aid tools or items are kept. Tools which are found in the first aid kit are like what we call bandages, painkillers like Panadols, soap, water, gloves, razor blade, pair of scissors, cotton wool, piece of, and so on and so on. We have gone through and we have seen this first aid kit, and the following images, as you have seen, as we have said earlier, these are the tools which are found in the first aid kit. However, these are some of them. You are likely to have more and more, right? And also we have gone through the process of giving the first aid for the person who is bleeding, of which we went through all those things, and we went through the person who has got what we call electrical shock, how to do, and we have said you don't need to touch that individual. First of all, you need to switch off electricity in case you don't reach that, so you have to separate a victim by using a dry log, if not log then wood, to separate him or her from the electricity before touching, right? And also we have talked about once you have separated him, you do what follows. We have also insisted that this electrical shock should end up by seeking medical treatment unless you have assured yourself that this was very minor. And again, the very interesting thing with us, it was the giving first aid to a person bitten by a snake. We have talked a bit about all these things as we went through. Now here comes an assignment, guys. Now the assignment says, or the first question says, what is first aid, by the way? You have to give out the meaning of the first aid. What is first aid? And we have said why it is important. Why it is important to go give help, or to give help to an accident victim before going or before seeing the doctor. So here it should be read like why it is important to give help to an accident victim before seeing the doctor. This should be the question into account. And the other thing says, what is first aid kit? What is first aid kit? What is first aid kit? And again, you have also to mention any 10 equipments found in the first aid kit. Any 10 equipments which are found in the first aid kit, because as we have said, there are a lot to be said with the first aid kit. And the last question for today says, how are you going to help an individual who got bug bites or insects like spider, bees, ants, etc. That is all about. Now, my dear pupils, thank you for going along with me from the very beginning to the end of this lesson. This is all, or that is all for today. See you next time. Thank you.